Welcome back, and it's time now to welcome Mr. Nick Hayes from Media Stable, all the way over there in the sunny west to overnight. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Mr. Brady. How are you?
Good.
To get back on. It's September time, so it's got to be Mike Brady time.
Well, it's a busy month for me.
Oh.
I get a quarter of an hour sleep a day.
Quarter of an hour sleep a day. Now, please tell me you're still collecting all those lovely royalties for this time of the year when...
Millions, Nick, millions.
What are you doing? What are you doing overnight shift then for?
Well, I'm just addicted to radio, and I just thought, look, let me find a really easy and a cushy shift. So I applied to fill in for Andrew.
And I'm sure he's going to be listening right now. In fact, you know what? I think Andrew will be so far away from a radio that, he'll be sort of he'll be fast asleep.
It'll be non-existent.
I actually like to think of Andrew listening with his headphones on, sitting in a tub of bubbles with a glass of Moët and Chandon in his hand.
And wearing a top hat?
And, I'm not sure about a top hat, but that could be right. I was thinking more like a beanie, really, but... Sorry, I mean, this will get back to Andrew. He won't be listening, but this will get back to him, Nick.
Oh, well, it's no better man to be filling in. And again, what a beautiful time of the year it is. First day or second day of spring now. And you just know that it's getting close to the end of the footy finals, don't you?
It certainly is. It's definitely the pointy end. Now, Nick, speaking of absurd things, the Ice Bucket Challenge, I don't remember... in my whole lifetime, anything that has caught on so quickly. And I know you've got a bit to say about it. So how come this has happened so instantly?
Oh, look, it's been running just over a month, and it's raised $111 million around the world. It's for the motor neuron disease, although where it started in the United States, it's actually referred to as ALS. Let's just quickly picture this, because I'm sure everyone's heard about it, but they're not actually, some people may not exactly be quite sure. The Ice Bucket Challenge is basically people challenging other people to tip buckets of ice water over their heads, raise awareness around motor neuron disease, and raise funds. Now, this very quickly started in the US, and it very quickly went viral because it has a couple of components around it that really brought the attention to the entire world. As soon as you start bringing celebrities and well-known people that are getting involved and doing ridiculous things online, and particularly when you're seeing video coverage of it, it will go everywhere. Everyone's walking around these days with a smartphone or have got access to an iPad or the internet. So it's very, very visible. That's first. And second thing is that they did it very well, because when you challenge three people within your inner circle, that three people then challenges another three people very quickly. It's like a disease. It's just rolling out everywhere. It's like a virus. It's going right around the world, and everyone is getting involved. And it has done an amazing job raising awareness around motor neuron disease, which one might say is probably not the most sexiest of diseases when you compare it to some of the other diseases and also to health issues.
It flies a bit below the radar, doesn't it?
Yeah, most certainly. Motor neuron disease would not rate very highly amongst the other charities that are raising money around for the cure or trying to find a solution to the disease.
Well, $111 million on top of the awareness factor, $111 million will go a long way to some good research, I would imagine.
Oh, most certainly. And it probably, I think, as far as any charities out there, and a lot of people who will be listening tonight will have been involved in some form of charity and may have donated to this particular cause or have their own particular charities that they're involved in. There's been everything from Lamington Drives right through to giveaway holidays, etc., to try and raise money for a particular cause and try and find a solution. This was a really smart way of doing it. But there is one thing, Mike, I've got to say, it is a little bit, it does grind on me a little bit, if I'm going to be a little bit on the negative side, and occasionally I go this way, is that I don't understand, and particularly if you're a charity that works, for instance, with Africa, the way people are tipping over good quality water, iced water, wasting water, so that if it goes over you, you don't necessarily have to donate to me, that is a bit of a first world charity fundraising attempt, and maybe a little bit in the face for some of those charities that have to walk maybe 12, 15 kilometres just to get access to fresh water.
And it's getting worse in some. I think you're right. I think, look, it's great that it's, the high side of it is that it's raising money and awareness. The lower side is it's a little bit Western, isn't it? It's a little bit, just slightly decadent. It's like a food fight or an eating contest. I cringe at eating contests. I hate them, and food fights for charity I wouldn't have a bar of, but and there've been a few of those in the past too. But your formula, I read here, Nick, and I was interested in this. It's very simple. What are the essential ingredients for a viral campaign? It's worth even noting this. It's very simple. Peer-to-peer is crucial. Celebrities are important, and fun. And it ticks all those boxes, doesn't it?
It ticks all those boxes beautifully. And you know what? There was one, Mike, there was one about 9 months ago that they did with selfies without makeup. So women all over the world were taking photos of themselves without makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Posting them on Facebook. It was for a cancer charity. I can't recall exactly which one. They raised a few dollars and did very well, but probably not to this sort of level. But the one thing, Mike, that is another problem I have with it is that people are going away and saying they are donating, but are they really donating, or are they just getting in on the fun and not necessarily getting on the bandwagon for the cure? And that concerns me.
Good point. And, of course, that needs to be managed. And when something grows so quickly in a month, you have to wonder how they are managing it. But it's great. I mean, I suppose the big ones in Australia have been Red Nose Day for SIDS.
Sure.
And Movember for Beyond Blue and for the Prostate Cancer Foundation. They've both been beauties. I mean, Movember is a bit of fun. It's certainly not politically incorrect, but Red Nose Day, I used to chuckle when I see the buses with red noses on them too. But like anything, particularly in this day of this age of instant gratification, you have to refresh the things as they go, and I suppose that's what they're working on these days with viral campaigns. You've got to keep them interesting to make them grow. I don't know how they're going to make this grow any further. It's been massive.
Well, it's been massive, and I don't think it won't be replicated very quickly. I should point out that some motor neuron disease associations around the world have seen increases in 2,500% increase in donations.
Oh, well, that's fabulous.
You know what? I've got to say, if we are spending or we are wasting a little bit of water to raise awareness and start talking about it, then to me that's not too bad. And if we're raising enough money, hopefully they might be able to find a cure, and we may not ever have to talk about it again.
Maybe, and it's a wonderful outcome. I lost a very dear friend to motor neuron disease, and it's a bugger of a thing. It's a dreadful thing, I reckon. So, now, Qantas is making the news worldwide for all the wrong reasons.
It is making news for all the wrong reasons. Only last week we saw Alan Joyce get up the front, the CEO of Qantas, get up and announce a $2.8 billion loss at Qantas. $2.8 billion, the biggest record loss that the company has ever had. Funnily enough, the next day, the share price of Qantas goes up 6%. Now, I'm no financial guru, but, I'm pretty certain if you've got a $2.8 billion loss, it means the company's not going so well. But the stock market saw it a little differently. This is a brand, Qantas. I thought I'd just raise it and raise it with your listeners as well. It's a brand that is so deeply iconic and part of the Australian psyche. We've been brought up on Qantas. Qantas has been in our face from the moment we were almost, you can see a TV, see an advert, and particularly the great one where I still call Australia home. Probably one of the great ads that Australia will be well known for, and it does resonate so beautifully with Australians. But I think we're starting to lose really interest in the brand Qantas, and that is something there that they've got to start performing or move on. And that's the feeling that a lot of people in media are talking about at the moment is, do we really love the brand Qantas anymore? And what does it mean to people?
Yeah, look, I think it was a love affair. I think you're right. I believe that Qantas had an edge based on the fact that Australians were so proud and identified so much with the brand that Qantas could charge a premium. It was a premium brand. It was like, a few car brands, like I think Honda were an example of that. They probably weren't 20% better than cars around them, but they certainly charged 20% more than cars around them because their positioning was that they were a premium brand. Well, Qantas were a premium brand, but I think in the reign of Alan Joyce, for probably the right reasons, he had to pull it in a bit. So Qantas domestically almost became a budget airline. Certainly it's not Jetstar, but they tightened it up so much. It was quite an indulgent airline where, everybody got wonderful meals and great service, but he pared that back. And I don't think people were prepared then. He tested them to see if they would still fly with the new competition coming in, still fly Qantas, even if they pulled the quality of the product back. Unfortunately, I don't think that's worked. And I think you're right. I think Australians don't really care that much as long as they get a good deal to get where they're going.
And that is what we're seeing. I mean, the budget opportunities, you can fly to places like Bali for $150. It's ridiculous. It wouldn't even pay for the fuel to get you there. And one might say, well, how is that sustainable? How would they continue to do that? We're seeing Qantas slash 5,000 jobs. Well, 2,500 have gone already. There'll be another 2,500 jobs that'll be going over the next year or so. And it's something there that the brand itself has never been. There is no other Australian brand that is scrutinised or is looked at as deeply as that is Qantas. Telstra used to get quite the ear bashing and quite the look at, but I think as a private company, when Telstra was was a government company, it could easily be bashed. But when all of a sudden everyone becomes the shareholder of Telstra, it's very hard to see anyone bashing it because they're too afraid that the share price might go down.
That's true. And look, there was a wonderful book out a while ago, Nick, called The Men Who Killed Qantas, about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's a very good insight into Qantas. It starts off in the early days and it talks about its growth as a premium brand in Australia and the world. And, it made me feel very proud. But unfortunately, I'm one of those people. I still fly Qantas. I'm a member of the Qantas Club along with 85 million other people. But
all in high-vis shirts too.
Yes. And I fly overseas a bit. And we've got a partnership now with Emirates, but I'm not allowed into their lounge. Even though I'm a Qantas Club member, and even though it's a QF flight, if I'm flying Emirates, I can't go into their lounge, so I really bitch about that. I may not renew my Qantas Club membership as a result of that.
Mike, you could just get out the guitar and start bashing out a few tunes. That'll get you into the lounge.
No, I still fly Qantas. I'm still fairly loyal.
Look, if there's one thing that we can say about Qantas, and there's one thing you can certainly say about them, they are still the safest airline going around. They have got an impeccable safety record, and when you compare that to what is going on with Malaysia Airlines, I mean, you can go into Malaysia Airlines, swing 5 cats and still not hit anyone at the moment because no one's flying it.
The terrible thing about that, Nick, is it could have easily been Qantas, certainly over Ukraine, or it could have been any other airline, but it's just the way it's panned out, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got issues, but I think we've got to start. They've got to start performing that and start seeing Australians see it in a different light. But I think that whole identity of a national carrier, and for many of us that have travelled overseas, it's that one thing that you look forward to seeing because that big red kangaroo is going to take you home. Now it's something there that potentially they'll jump onto other aircraft or other carriers to get them home.
Yeah, I'd had a long trip away once, and I remember I was flying from Harare to Perth in Australia. Harare's in Zimbabwe, capital of Zimbabwe, and I saw that big red kangaroo on the tail of this great big lit up Qantas 747, and I was home even before I got on and heard the bloke say, "G'day, mate, how you going?" And that's how the stewards used to talk in those days. "G'day, mate, how you going?"
Thanks for coming aboard. Good to see you. Good to see you again, Mr. Brady. It's great, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I still see it. I flew back on Qantas and flew over to Europe on Qantas this year. So now Clive Palmer has become very contrite.
Look, a little couple of quick things. Clive Palmer has finally said sorry. Clive doesn't mix his words. I think Clive Palmer is probably one of the smartest men in politics, and I hear everyone going, "Oh, look, he knows how to say it, but he also knows when to pull it back." I think Clive is pretty well looked after when it comes to media. He's a little bit quick to react, and he did react pretty quickly when he had his little bit of a rant against the Chinese. Probably Jackie Lambie could take a few lessons from Clive's book to just take a little bit more of a step back, but Jackie seems to be running on her own agenda, and I really am worried about the future of the pups, because there just seemed to be a bit of disunity amongst them last week, and if we're starting to see the cracks now, in the next 12 months, we might see more than cracks.
Well, I can't help say this, Nick, but I still see them as a bit of a novelty. Unfortunately, though, they're a very powerful novelty, and they worry me a little bit too, I have to say. Nick, great to speak to you, mate, as always, and I'm here for 3 weeks, so we'll get to talk again next week.
Excellent, Mike. Looking forward to it, and we'll maybe bash out a tune from the old album Invisible Man next week.
I played one last night.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, never played on radio before in 35 years. Song about Tony Hancock. There you go.
It might be back on iTunes. We might start seeing some more dollars flowing from that.
It's still on vinyl. Although vinyl's back. We'll talk about that another time.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Nick Hayes there from Media Stable, and always great to speak to Nick from the West, although he's in Melbourne every week. We'll be back with more after this.
Traditional vacuums can